Welcome to MINDSHOCK. This is your host, Bruce McGuire, and this is the logical analysis of Smith vs. Murray on the Joe Rogan Experience. This has been making the rounds on social media, short little clips. Now, full disclosure, I don't know who either of these guys are. And I don't even know the exact topic of their debate, but a lot of goofs on social media posted. The only thing I've seen are these just a couple second clips of Murray humiliating himself, spamming genetic and credentials logical fallacies, and all these goofs on social media thinking that he destroyed Smith somehow by spamming fallacies. Just the level of goofery here is off the charts. Now, like I said again, I maybe have seen Dave Smith before. He's a comic. Maybe was he on JRE before? Maybe I've seen him. I don't remember anything about him. I have no idea whether he's logical or intelligent in any way. Douglas Murray looks like some kind of establishment goof shill, but I'm not sure. Other than a couple seconds of him spamming fallacies on the clip shared on social media, I've never seen him on anything. So we will see how this unfolds. Whether a contender for the Dunning-Kruger Championships will emerge from this encounter on the Joe Rogan Experience. The long-missed fallacy counters will be back. I'll put them on the screen in a second. And I'll explain the analysis system. This is going to be a simplified version versus what was on the Matt Walsh's self-decimation on the moon landings. And obviously this new logical analysis system was necessitated by the one and only Craig of Fight the Flat Earth, because his fallacy stacking, the level of goofery Craig brought to the table, I mean, I've never seen anything like it. So we had to refine the system from just fallacies and zingers to a much more complicated system in order to truly assess the level of illogicality that exists in the world in order to have proper metrics for the Dunning-Kruger Championships. I mean, we have so many contenders vying for the title. We want to be as accurate as possible in analyzing all of these so-called debates. Once again, if you enjoy the MINDSHOCK podcast, find it interesting and informative and entertaining, and you want to help logic and reason return to a world where it is quickly going extinct, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. You could also become a patron. Even the free tier will get you all of the updates that YouTube might fail to provide for you. And like and share Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit as well. A lot of goofs melting down on Reddit over various posts, so always entertaining on Reddit as well. And you can also help to support the channel by becoming a YouTube member right here on YouTube. Questions, comments, theories, thoughts, suggestions, rebuttals, debunkings of any kind, leave them in the comments section. Or if you are with us here live in the live chat, I'll try to get to as many as I can. All right, we got a lot of people in here now. We got Flat Bob, Trex, Parmigiani, Justin Johnson, Psyop within a Psyop, the one and only John Smith. Any relation here? Any relation to Dave Smith here, this comic? Truth Trollette, welcome. Heracles, the one and only. Guys, we're really having a conversation here. All right. So, Aaron, welcome. Heracles says, Murray gets recognition for being anti-Islam, anti-trans. So, I think this is some kind of Israel debate. So, is he... So... if he's anti-Islam, he's probably pro-Israel. Angle of Elevation says this podcast was the bomb. Welcome South to West. Saddlebum, where have you been? Haven't seen Saddlebum in a bit. All right, so let's get the metrics on the screen here. Actually, let me roll the JRE intro here, and then I'll get the metrics on the screen.
Joe Rogan podcast by now.
Ladies and gentlemen, hey guys, what's happening? Are you going no headphones?
Oh,
Keep the do?
I'll do that. I'm not quite sure what they add, but yeah. Okay.
There we go. All right. The goal of this is every time I see people that disagree with anything that's happening, any gigantic world events, it's one of these retarded shows where they're screaming. There's the word again. We brought it.
Yeah.
We were just talking about
You
that.
did it early.
The word retarded is back, and it's one of the great culture victories that I think
It is.
on probably.
Is Rogan happy about that so he can be aptly described? All right, so here's what we got. So we got Smith versus Murray here. So, logical fallacies, of course, the basics. Do you guys want a quick intro? Do you want me to play the logical analysis breakdown? Do you guys who has never seen a breakdown, a logical analysis counter breakdown here before? Flat Bob says yes. Scott Steiner in the house, one of the greatest pro wrestlers of all time. I got a deep dive coming on Scott Steiner. We definitely have to do a multi-hour deep dive into the great Scott Steiner, Freakzilla himself, Big Papa Pump. Yeah, Flat Bob wants to, okay. Let's. I'm gonna try to skip through it kind of quickly, and of course, we do need to. I need to change the way they're going to be weighted, but yeah, I'll roll it. This is the MINDSHOCK logical analysis, where debaters on any topic compete for Dunning-Kruger championships. The Dunning-Kruger effect is a cognitive bias in which people with limited competence in a particular domain overestimate their abilities. The Dunning-Kruger effect is usually measured by comparing self-assessment with objective performance. The initial study was published by David Dunning and Justin Kruger in 1999. It focused on logical reasoning, grammar, and social skills. Since then, other studies have been conducted across a wide range of tasks. They include skills from such fields as business, politics, medicine, driving, aviation, spatial memory, examinations in school, and literacy. The statistical model explains the empirical findings are a statistical effect in combination with the general tendency to think that one is better than average. In these Dunning-Kruger championships, this logical analysis will be scored across many metrics to measure who is the Dunning-Kruger champion, the height of confidence and ignorance. The scoring will be based on logical fallacies committed. Logical fallacies can be either illegitimate arguments or irrelevant points, and are often identified because they lack evidence that support their claim. There are many different types of logical fallacies. Some of the most common are the straw man logical fallacy, misrepresenting someone's argument to make it easier to attack. The bandwagon or appeal to popularity logical fallacy, appealing to popularity or the fact that many people do something as an attempted form of validation. Appeal to authority, using the opinion or position of an authority figure or institution of authority in place of an actual argument. Genetic logical fallacy, judging something good or bad on the basis of where it comes from or from whom it comes, instead of the merit of the statement or argument itself. Personal incredulity, saying that because one finds something difficult to understand, that therefore it's not true or lessens the likelihood of being true. Shifting the burden of proof logical fallacy, saying that the burden of proof lies not with the person making the claim, but with someone else to disprove. Ad hominem attacks, attacking your opponent's character or personal traits in an attempt to undermine their argument instead of focusing on the argument itself. False cause logical fallacies, presuming that a real or perceived relationship between things means that one is the cause of the other. Black and white or false dichotomy logical fallacy, where two alternative states are presented as the only possibilities, when in fact more possibilities can exist. Begging the question logical fallacy, a circular argument in which the conclusion is included in the premise. Anecdotal logical fallacies, using personal experience or an isolated example instead of a valid argument, especially to dismiss statistics. The tu quo quo logical fallacy, avoiding having to engage with criticism by turning it back on the accuser. The middle ground logical fallacy, saying that a compromise or middle point between two extremes is the truth. The truth is whatever it is, regardless of how extreme it is. The no true Scotsman logical fallacy, making what could be called an appeal to purity as a way to dismiss relevant criticisms or flaws of an argument. The special pleading or moving of the goalpost logical fallacy, moving the goalpost to create exceptions when a claim is shown to be false. Composition or division logical fallacy, or parts to a whole logical fallacy, assuming that what's true about one part of something has to be applied to all or other parts of it. Appeal to emotion, manipulating an emotional response in place of a valid or compelling argument. There are, of course, many more fallacies, but these are the basics. So, the scoring is as follows. There is a baseline. The scoring on the baseline will be as follows. Standard garden variety fallacies from the master fallacy list will be counted each and every time a fallacy is performed. Every 25 fallacies committed adds 5 points to the baseline. Super fallacies can be achieved one of 3 ways. A single fallacy that is so incredibly silly it would be enough to make someone spit their drink out. Or a minimum of 3 simultaneous fallacies. For example, committing a straw man, false dichotomy, and circular reasoning fallacy with a single statement. Or 2 or more identical fallacies simultaneously stacked. like a double false premise. 10 to 19 stacked fallacies in a single statement activates a 10x multiplier, which will count as 10 super fallacies plus 100 regular fallacies. Every 10 will activate another 10x multiplier. Every super fallacy adds 5 points to the baseline. Fallacy combos. Rapid, uninterrupted streams of fallacies qualify for fallacy combo points. 3 to 9 fallacies in rapid succession qualify for 1 fallacy combo point. 10 to 19 back-to-back fallacies in a row activates the 10x multiplier. So a 10 to 19 fallacy combo will count for 10 fallacy combo points. 3 super fallacies in combination activates the 10x multiplier, with each additional super fallacy activating another 10x multiplier. 3 super dingers in combination activates a 100x multiplier, with each additional super dinger activating a 100x multiplier. Every 10 fallacy combo points result in 5 baseline points. Zingers. Zingers are quick, witty, or pointed remarks or retorts, demonstrating intellectual and comedic superiority. Every zinger subtracts 5 from the baseline. Dingers are the opposite of a zinger. It is a self-own, directing that at oneself. In order to qualify for a dinger, it would have to be something that would cause someone to spit their own drink out. A repetition of previous dingers is not counted as a new dinger unless repeated so many times it reaches the threshold once again for one to spit their drink out. Every dinger adds 5 to the baseline. Super dingers. Super fallacies are not necessarily dingers, and dingers are not necessarily super fallacies. But when both are committed simultaneously, this achieves a super dinger. The same repetition rule applies as for standard dingers. Every super dinger adds 10 to the baseline. The final score is tabulated based on a weighted average. The baseline score counts for 40%. The fallacy per minute rate, 40%. The FPM rate is calculated based on the total amount of fallacies committed throughout the entire duration of the debate. Super fallacies count for 10%. Regular fallacies, 5%. Fallacy combos, 5%. The weighted average determines the final score. Highest score wins. Okay, some modifications here. So I simplified this system because a lot of people said it was too complicated. If you want to see it in action, check out the Matt Walsh moon landing analysis. This does this full system in action. Now, because of the level of complication regarding the baseline and the combos, like I simplified it. When you have more than one person, it does get a little tricky. So the trade-off is there's going to be a lot less analyses because they take so long, or we could do a lot more analyses with a simpler system without the baseline or the combos and multipliers. So in the chat, put what you want. I'm going to make this, so this analysis, Smith versus Murray, is going to be a slightly modified, simpler system of this. And then when we get the final score, so we're going to have to adjust how all of this is tabulated. Fallacies are going to have to count for a lot more, but we're still going to do FPM, fallacies per minute. The problem with that is it's not going to be weighted properly, because otherwise we would have to have a literal timer on the screen for how often someone talks, and that's not exactly fair if one person is talking more than the other. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the total video, so the JRE podcast, and I'm just going to use that time and average the time for the FPM rate. Who's the current FPM title holder? So the problem is with the old system, Well, I tabulated it actually. Let me see. I have it somewhere. Hold on a second. Let's see. I know Sartain was up there. Uh-oh. Looks like we might have some glitching coming. This is not good. I tested this for like an hour. Alright, hold on. Hopefully it won't, but okay. And obviously the more metrics with the combos and multipliers, it does glitch out more. So, okay, let me look at the FPM. Okay, so who do we got? So, I had it on the old MINDSHOCK channel. Here, it looks like I only have a partial. Bryant Myers got 1,145 fallacies in 255 minutes, which was 4.49. Dave Farina scored 281 fallacies in 61 minutes against Flat Earth Dave with a 4.61 FPM rate. For some reason, I think Sartain beat him, but I don't have it here. Oh man, I guess I don't have I don't have Sartain's. I think Sartain actually, for some reason I think Sartain had it. Alright, so I might have to restart the stream if it glitches out too much, but let's see. So we're going to do a simplified system. There's no combos or multipliers or baseline, and there's no super dingers or super zingers, but super fallacies are still in play. So just for the recap here, so a super fallacy is either a single major fallacy, something that's so utterly fallacious it would make you spit your drink out if you're drinking something, or 3 or more simultaneous fallacies, or 2 identical fallacies. So, for example, I mean, Craig pulled these off. I'm not sure if anybody other than Craig pulled these off. But Craig, I think did I upload the new setting up the new system? Maybe I didn't. I have to re-upload that because we actually, in order to, I did a few different streams, multi-hour streams, going over Craig. I think it was Craig versus Caleb that necessitated the new system. So we developed this whole system based on Craig of Fight the Flat Earth. And he actually did these, which is how they came into the system. I don't think anybody other than Craig has stacked 2 or more identical fallacies or 3 different simultaneous fallacies. And he's done these like 3. He's also gone back to back on these, and he's also had, for fallacy combos, he's had like I forgot the exact amount. Was it 11 or 15 fallacies with one statement? I mean, Craig is legendary with fallacies. So 2 or more identical fallacies would be, let's say you did 2 strawman fallacies, but it's not the same fallacy. So you hit 2 different, with a single statement, you hit 2 different fallacies. Or let's say a false cause fallacy. You did 2 false causes, but they weren't about the same thing. So let's say you're talking about both gravity and let's say magnetic forces, and you're talking about both of them at the same time, but in a single statement you make a false cause on each. So you did 2 false cause fallacies, which is the same type of fallacies, but about a different subject. And you did that with one statement. So Craig has done that. So that'll be a super fallacy. All right. Does anybody have any questions about the system? Otherwise, we'll get right into it. Alright, so let's get right into it. Hopefully we don't hit too many glitches. It was working perfectly in my test. Now I'm getting some error reports, but hopefully it'll still work.
by podcast, but these things are always like Pierce Morgan-y, which is fine, where everyone's screaming over each other and, there's 5 different people talking over each other. There's never just rational conversations where you discuss things. And I respect both of you. I think both of you are brilliant. And I bet you agree on a lot of things, and I bet you disagree on a lot of things. And it'd be fascinating to see your perspectives on these things. So that's why you're here together.
Okay.
And
Well,
Douglas,
Can I ask you something?
yes, sir.
Since the war in Israel began, and since the war in Ukraine began, you've had quite a lot of people who are very against both in different ways.
Yes.
Do you think you've had enough people on who are supportive of either war?
So right out of the gate, Murray is appealing to popularity, as if the amount of people has anything to do with what is true or untrue. I mean, okay, like I said, I don't know anything about this guy, but I mean, to come out of the gate with an appeal to popularity or the bandwagon fallacy, like, what difference does it make? Does he have any actual arguments or not? Well, that angle of elevation, that wasn't an appeal to authority, because he didn't say whether you had experts on. He just said amount of people. So whether they're random homeless people, which obviously a lot of homeless people are actually more correct about things than so-called experts in indoctrination facilities. But just, he didn't make an appeal to authority. He made an appeal to popularity. He just said enough people on. So he's coming out of the gate with an appeal to popularity fallacy. Who thinks that bodes well? I mean, what kind of a train wreck is this going to turn into? And again, if anybody has any questions about the system, just bring them up in the chat. We'll see how we go along here. Hopefully everything works. I'm getting some error reports on the overlay, but hopefully everybody sees it and it's fine. If anything, I might have to restart the stream if it does get really crazy, but so far so good.
I don't know that word enough, if that's a good word.
Let's say enough people who are on the side of Israel instead of wild critics.
Well, I've had a few. I mean, I believe God Sad is on the side of Israel.
For sure.
Jordan is on the side of Israel.
You had Mike Baker, Coleman
yeah.
Hughes.
Yeah.
Coleman did it for like 20 minutes. That wasn't why he was here.
No. I mean, none of them. And none of them is why they're here. It's a good question.
Do you think you've tilted one way?
Me personally?
No. Just with the guests you've had.
The guests? Yeah, probably more tilted towards the idea that perhaps the way they've done it is barbaric.
Mm-hmm. But why do you think that is? Just out of interest. I'm just interested in your selection of guests because you're like the world's #1 podcast. So
Yeah, it's not. I don't think about it that way. I just think I'd like to talk to this person.
But can I just?
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah,
it's your show. But
sure.
If you're going to interview historians of the conflict or historians in general, why would you get somebody like Ian Carroll or?
So that was an appeal to authority or appeal to credentials fallacy. Because as if somebody can't speak truth if they're not a so-called historian, not to mention there's historians on both sides of every issue. I mean, that's why this is all so silly, because you can find, if you're just going to be appealing to authority or credentials fallacies, you can find an expert or authority on both sides of every single issue. I've yet to see one. If someone can bring up an issue where there's like some kind of medical issue where you can't find a single doctor on the opposite side of whatever the corrupt establishment is on, regardless of who's right or wrong, again, I'm not claiming anything is true or untrue. This is Mind Shock, where the only thing we know for sure is that we don't know anything for sure. This is not about conclusions in any way. We are simply analyzing the validity or lack thereof of arguments made. Heracles says, I am not hearing the bell. Are you guys not hearing the bell from the fallacy count? There should have been 3 bells. Did you guys not hear the bell? I lowered the volume slightly on the bells. Oh, nobody heard any bells? Oh, wow. I heard the bell. That's weird. Yeah, I heard the bell. Huh, that's so weird. Let me try something. Yeah, I heard all of them. Let's see. Let's try this. Okay, now let me try the bell. So the bell is synced to the counter. For some reason it wasn't working before. Let me try, see who can hear this. Okay, I'm guessing nobody heard those 3. That's so weird. Ah. Man, that's annoying. Why? Okay, hold on. Let's see what's going on here. Yeah, that is so weird. So that's linked here. Yeah, I have no idea why that would not be working. That's real dumb. Yeah, I spent like an hour setting it all up, and I can hear it, but for whatever reason, it's not going through the stream, but the counter is linked to the bell. Oh, man. Actually, I have an idea. Hold on, let me try something else. Okay. Alright, okay, I think I got it now. Oh man, can you imagine how this would be if we had all the fallacy combos and multipliers and baseline? Yeah, okay. It looks like it's working now. For some reason, there was some kind of weird overlap on the sound devices, but I think I got it now. Okay. Alright. We should be all good. Let's continue now.
Yeah, but Ian Carroll, I didn't bring him on for that purpose. I brought him on because I want to find out, like, how does one get involved in the whole conspiracy theory business? Because his whole thing is just conspiracies.
Sure.
You know?
But do you have any, I mean, there's been a tilt in the conversation, in both conversations in the last couple of years, and it's largely to do with people who have appointed themselves experts who are not experts.
You mean like Ian? I don't think he appoints himself an expert in anything.
Who's that other dude who thinks he's an expert on Churchill?
Oh, Daryl Cooper does not think he's an expert.
In fact, I think it's everybody else is always calling him an expert, and he's like, oh, I'm just a history.
Have you ever absorbed any of his material? Have you ever consumed any of his podcasts or anything like that?
I've tried.
Yeah?
It's pretty hard to listen to somebody who says, I don't know what I'm talking about, but now I'm going to talk. Or I don't know about this, or I'm not capable of debating this historian, but I'm going to just tell you what I think.
Yeah, but that's not exactly what Daryl was saying. I mean, Daryl's point of view, however you feel about this, what Daryl is saying is he doesn't really like doing debates. He likes to do long format stuff where he can really explain his position.
If you throw a lot of shit out there, there's some point at which I'm just raising questions is not a valid thing. Mm-hmm. You're not raising questions. You're not asking questions. You're telling people something.
Do you think Daryl's doing that?
I think there's a whole bunch of guys doing that.
I think
Dave is doing that, very obviously. Dave's a comedian, but he's now mainly talking about Israel.
No, I don't know if I'm mainly talking about Israel.
Did everybody hear all that? All the bells working now? Okay, so I did not hear any echo. That's weird. Yeah, he just spammed. So he just did 17. No, he did 16 appeal to authority or genetic fallacies. So he did 1 appeal to popularity, or 1 or 2 at the beginning. And then he just went 15 straight on appeal to authority, genetic, or credentials fallacy. Now, is that a super fallacy? I don't know. I wouldn't spit my drink out, but technically he doubled up because he actually did. He actually he went strawman, false premise, because whoever that guy is, he's only talking about Israel now. Also appeal to extremes. I think that's a super fallacy. What does everybody think? I mean, to claim a random guy is now only talking about Israel as if he's I mean, yeah, he's stacked up false premise. Yeah, we're gonna have to go super fallacy there. We're gonna have to go super fallacy. Let me rewind it and let's see if this works.
You're not raising questions. You're not asking questions. You're telling people something.
Do you think Daryl's doing that?
I think there's a whole bunch of guys doing that.
I
I
think-
think Dave is doing that, very obviously. Dave's a comedian, but he's now mainly talking about Israel.
I don't know if I'm mainly talking about Israel.
That's
but
all I see you
I have
on the internet
opinions.
doing.
Yeah, but that's you
Well, that
just
might be what you've seen.
It's
but
just
I don't
you
think that's,
consuming
But
clips.
that is also your shtick now, isn't it?
Now, I don't know if that's coffee or whatever, but this goof is now saying that's your shtick now? His shtick in that ad hom and false premise? Yeah. Did everybody hear the sound effect for the super fallacy? Did everybody hear that? With Craig, I mean, Craig was going back to back super fallacies. Yeah, I mean, so far this guy's got nothing on Craig, but the level of goofery out of the gate is kind of wild. Like, you'd think he'd at least mix it up with the family, with the fallacies. I mean, you'd think he'd at least have some kind of diversity. This might be I don't know if I've ever seen anybody spam the same fallacy consecutively this many times. I mean, it's kind of impressive, isn't it? I mean, like, I'm trying to think who else spams the same fallacy. Maybe so-called Professor Dave with he goes back-to-back ad homs a lot, but he still kind of mixes in some straw man and circular reasoning and begging the questions. I mean, this guy almost went exclusively 15 straight appeal to authority or appeal to credentials fallacies. Like it was about 15 straight. And then sips either coffee, tea, alcohol, whatever that is, like a goof. I mean, it's just... how is anybody impressed by this guy? Like, there's goofs out there kind of celebrating him. Oh, he destroyed Smith. I mean, this level of goofery is insane. I mean, wow. What is everybody thinking, watching? I mean, we just started. We're barely... This is 3 hours long. We're 4 minutes in. And this guy's already got 18 fallacies and a super fallacy. We're only 4.5 minutes in, and most of that was Rogan's intro.
Well, what do you mean by that's my shtick?
Well, you're not a geopolitics guy in general, are you?
I don't even know exactly what you're asking.
I'm saying you've decided, being a comedian, you've decided now to become somebody who talks about Israel.
This
as a
is not,
conflict.
I think you're incorrect. I don't think it's a decision. I just think you have long-form conversations, multiple of them. It's a huge event that's in the news, so it comes up. I don't think
know,
it's a
but-
thing. I think if you're on the outside, you'd say, oh, look, they're trying to get attention by talking about this very polarizing issue
Yeah.
publicly. That's
But
not...
you do get attention from that. If you'd spent the
Sure.
last year speaking about Myanmar, you would not be on my lips.
Yeah, but
or a
he
lot of
does
people's.
talk
Okay.
about...
So he finally mixed it up. So that was a non sequitur and red herring and diversion fallacy. Oh, technically, I don't know. Is that another super fallacy? Because what does Myanmar have to do with anything? And not to mention, what does getting attention have to do with anything? Like, what does that have to do with any kind of argument? We're going to have to go super fallacy on that, man.
Hadouken! Yemen constantly. He talks about a lot of things that aren't in the news.
Well, I tend to talk about the conflicts that my government is directly involved in, which I think is reasonable to me. But I don't quite get, like, what's all the appeal to authority stuff? I mean, when you have to be an expert or...
No. I think
What exactly
authority
makes
matters.
you
I
an
think
expert?
authority matters, and I think that if you just throw a lot of shit out there and then say, I'm not interested in the alternative views on this, and particularly when it's a counter-narrative that is wildly off. And when you get people... Look, I just feel... we should get it out straight away. I feel you've opened the door to quite a lot of people who've now got a big platform who have been throwing out counter-historical stuff of a very dangerous kind.
You mean Daryl? You talking about Daryl?
Okay. I mean, this guy, I was actually skeptical that this guy would be able to rack up super fallacies, but okay. I mean, maybe he's going to make a run for the title. So he just went ad hom. He went begging the question, circular reasoning, false premise, as if anything's counter-authority is wrong in the first place or dangerous, and not, I mean, obviously that's a diversion red herring fallacy as well, because whether it's dangerous or not has nothing to do with whether it's true. Aaron said, wow, this guy's going to town with this stuff. What's crazy is this is how he comes out of the gate. Like, that's what's kind of wild. He comes out of the gate scoring 25 fallacies and 4 super fallacies in less than 5 minutes. I mean, that's kind of strong. I mean, I was really doubtful this guy could make any kind of run at the Dunning-Kruger Championship. I don't know, man. He might. I mean, wow. Just these super fallacies now where he's just spamming these circular reasoning, begging the question, false premise, red herring, diversion fallacy stacks. I mean, wow. I mean, that's kind of crazy. I mean, I was on the fence whether to give Smith a zinger for what's with all this appeal to authority. I mean, that's kind of basic, though. I don't want to really give him a zinger for that, for just pointing out the obvious. I mean, it's true. I mean, this goof's coming out with just fallacies. I don't know. I don't think that meets the metric for a zinger. I mean, if the bar... I don't want to set the bar that low.
Daryl, who's the other one?
I don't think Daryl has.
Derek.
I don't think he's anything dangerous
what's
about
the other
what
guy? Derek. What's his name? Cooper? Is it? Which one is it?
No, that's
it's
Daryl.
Daryl
Cooper.
Cooper.
Who's the other one? There was one I just.
Who cares? Does this guy have any actual arguments? Can he actually support any kind of position or refute their arguments? I'm not claiming anything's true or untrue, but if this goof has a problem, with what these other guys are saying, spamming fallacies, humiliating himself spamming fallacies, how is that going to change anybody's mind or affect anything? Like, if you have a problem, if you think they're wrong or you have a problem with their arguments, why don't you actually address the arguments instead of pathetically spamming fallacies? I mean, this kind of mental midgetry, what does it accomplish? I mean, does he have no self-awareness? I mean, how did this guy's handlers send him into Joe Rogan with no ammunition? I mean, is this Illuminati humiliation ritual? Is this guy that high profile? I mean, he's on a bunch of mainstream news stuff, right, in Britain? I mean, is he that high profile that he's going through Illuminati humiliation rituals where his handlers send him into these situations with no ammunition on purpose? Is that what's going on here? I mean, I don't know. This is crazy. We're only 6 minutes in, and this guy's got a pretty decent score for only 6 minutes in.
Checked on the way here. Daryl Cooper, and then Daryl Cooper, Ian Carroll. Look, these guys are not historians. They're not knowledgeable about anything.
No one's calling Ian Carroll.
No, but then why listen to their views on Churchill?
Daryl is
Why
incredibly
listen-
knowledgeable.
He's not.
It's just
He's not.
Yeah,
he's
he
not.
is.
He's
Why do you say
wildly. Several reasons. One is when he was offered to debate the current greatest living biographer of Churchill, he said, "I can't because he knows much more than me, and I admire his work and I've learned from it, but I can't possibly debate him." That's Andrew Roberts.
Right, but you don't have to be able to debate people to have opinions.
No,
on
you
things.
don't have to debate people.
If
But
it's not
you,
your thing.
But if you, for instance, but if you say, "I've decided that Churchill is the bad guy in
It's not what he
World War
said.
II,"
It's not what he said. It's not what he said.
neither Carroll nor Cooper have said that.
Well, listen, I don't know what Carroll said, but Daryl Cooper's not said that. What he said was he jokes with his friend Jocko, who's an Anglo-Saxon. He jokes with him. I think that Churchill was the secret villain of World War II. And what he's saying is by Churchill's actions the war escalated. He's not saying anything.
He's not just asking questions, then, is he?
No, but
He's
that's
got a
the
point of
claim
view.
isn't that he's just asking questions. Yeah, he has a point of view.
You can explain this better. He literally says
he's-
he's
This is so much more of a train wreck than I thought. This Murray goof, now he's just spamming false premises and flat out lying about what people are saying, as if people aren't allowed to joke about stuff, and he doesn't even get the joke correctly. I mean, this is crazy. Justin Johnson says there's something coming off as an echo. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not hearing it, but yeah, you guys mentioned that before. Yeah, hold on 1 second. Let me see if I can replay this and see if I can hear the echo.
correct. I don't think it's a decision. I just think you have long-form conversations, multiple of them. It's a huge event.
What does it accomplish? Which is how they...
There. And then say, I'm not interested. Carroll. Look, these guys are not historians. They're not knowledgeable.
Which is how they...
There.
Okay. Yeah, I heard it. Let me try something else here.
Is he?
No, but
He's got
that's
a point
the
of
claim
view.
isn't that he's just asking questions. Yeah, he has a point of view.
You can explain this better. He literally says
he
he's
said
joking.
in the comment, he goes, listen, I'm being hyperbolic. And then he once again disclaimed, he goes, and I'm not claiming Churchill committed the most atrocities or was the worst part. But in many ways, I do view him as the chief villain, as my hyperbolic provocative. In many ways, I do view him as the chief villain, as my hyperbolic provocative.
spamming false.
In many ways, I do view him as the chief. 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 Provocative statement, but
What's
Douglas.
the point of that?
Well, okay, but Pat Buchanan wrote an entire book on this. Is he not allowed? Is he not an expert? Is he not allowed to be
He's certainly not an
interviewed?
expert. He can be interviewed. I've watched Pat Buchanan debate. I watched Pat Buchanan debate against Churchill historians, and he was absolutely leveled because he doesn't know what he's talking about.
When did Pat Buchanan debate and get leveled?
About 20 years ago.
I'm just
He
curious.
debated against questions, then, is he?
No, but
He's current greatest living biographer of Churchill. He said, I can't, because he knows much more than me, and I admire his work and I've learned from it, but I can't possibly debate him. That's Andrew Roberts.
Right, but you don't have to be able to debate people to have opinions.
No,
on
you
things.
don't have to debate people.
If
But
it's not your thing.
But if you, for instance, but if you say, I've decided that Churchill is the bad guy in
It's not
World
what he
War
said.
II.
It's not what he said. It's not what he said.
Neither Carroll nor Cooper have said that.
Well, listen, I don't know what Carroll said, but Daryl Cooper's not said that. What he said was he jokes with his friend Jocko, who's an Anglo-Saxon. He jokes with him. I think that Churchill was the secret villain of World War II. And what he's saying is by Churchill's actions the war escalated. He's not saying anything.
He's not just asking questions, then, is he?
No, but
he's got a
the
point
claim
of view.
isn't that he's just asking questions. Yeah, he has a point of view.
You can explain this better. He literally says
Yes, he
he's
said
joking.
in the comment, he goes, listen, I'm being hyperbolic. And then he once again disclaimed, he goes, and I'm not claiming Churchill committed the most atrocities or was the worst part. But in many ways, I do view him as the chief villain, as my hyperbolic, provocative statement. But
What's
Douglas,
the point of that?
well, okay, but Pat Buchanan wrote an entire book on this. Is he not allowed? Is he not an expert? Is he not allowed to be
He's
interviewed?
certainly not an expert. He can be interviewed. I've watched Pat Buchanan debate. I watched Pat Buchanan debate against Churchill historians, and he was absolutely leveled because he doesn't know what he's talking about.
When did Pat Buchanan debate and get leveled?
About 20 years ago.
I'm just
He
curious. I
debated
haven't seen
against
this.
Andrew Roberts and several other historians at Intelligence Squared in London. I was there. He didn't know what he was talking about. He had a contrary view, and it was interesting and stimulating to hear. But if you only get the contrary view, which is, isn't it fun if we all pretend Churchill was the bad guy of the 20th century? At some point, you're going to lead people down a path where they think that's the view. And that's horse shit of the most profound kind.
So this guy's just devolved into ad hom, but he just destroyed his own argument. So he's saying, so the expert, according to him, was horse expletive, but he's the one arguing for expert. Like, I mean, does this goof not comprehend? Uh-oh, what's going on with the stream? Are we getting... Come on, this is fair use. This is obviously fair use. Alright. Can you guys still hear my voice? Or no? Can you guys hear me? Yeah, it's weird because the audio and the stream was all good on my end. The only issue was the video. Let me try this. Let me try this. maybe this'll work. Obviously, this is all fair use all the time. There has never been. Oh wait, is it? Did it go away again? What is going on? All right, hold on. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I resized it so it's not full screen, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, the Matt Walsh one didn't have a problem, and that was, I mean, I did a couple that were full screen and they didn't have a problem. I mean, this one's kind of viral, so I wonder if it's the audio, maybe, on this one. I don't know. We'll see. Let's continue and see what happens. Yeah. Should I not say this is how are we gonna abbreviate this is FU? This is FU. Okay.
I don't think that's what he's trying to do.
I think that's exactly what they're doing. And the problem is that because you, I mean, your own platform has come about because you're a very successful comedian and much more, and you do ask questions, and you are interested. But there are a lot of people who have come along, partly I think because they've come on this show, who have come along and they've decided, I can play this double game. On the one hand, I'm going to push really edgy and frankly sometimes horrific opinions. And then if you say that's wrong, they say I'm a comedian.
But wait a minute. No,
what
no,
do I?
no,
What
no,
am I?
no, no,
what?
no.
What? How can you tell me
No,
I'm
no.
just a comedian?
Well,
I'm just throwing stuff out.
What
there.
horrific opinions that's wrong?
We still good? Okay. I think we're still good. Oh, no. Wow. Okay, so is this goof gonna address a single argument? Because all he's done is spam these fallacies. If he's thinking these opinions are that horrific, like, why not just debunk them? Why is he spiraling in these fallacies of, oh, they're just gonna shrug? Like, if you can destroy their argument, just destroy their argument and shut them down. Like, who thinks this goof is gonna present a single argument? At this point, I'm thinking this guy might go 3 hours and just spam fallacies, in which case, that would put him in contention for the Dunning-Kruger Championship. So let's see how this plays out. Let's see how this plays out.
Double game. On the one hand, I'm going to push really edgy and frankly sometimes horrific opinions. And then if you say that's wrong, they say I'm a comedian.
But wait a minute. No,
what
no,
do I?
no,
What
no,
am I?
no, no,
What?
no.
What? How can you tell me I'm just a comedian? I'm just throwing stuff out.
What
there.
horrific opinions that's wrong are you talking about specifically?
Once guys like this get into very obvious stuff, which is
Guys like Daryl?
the ones I'm describing.
You
very
need to
clear.
listen to Daryl to really understand what he's saying. If you take Daryl's words out of context, Daryl has some of the most nuanced, balanced, and charitable views on all the figures in history.
Well, particularly Hitler, it seems.
No,
just
you're
not
wrong.
true.
You're wrong. He doesn't. What did he call him? How did he describe him?
I think he compared him to a methed out psychopath who was holding an entire nation of people hostage, I believe was the way
He also
put it.
said on here that he wasn't anti-Semitic until the Holocaust. There were no speeches of Hitler's in the 1930s.
No, again, this is
No.
Was
that's
this
so-
on your
no, he
show?
said, no, he said he was not public about
He said
it.
he was downplaying it to win over. He said there was a
Yeah.
period where he was downplaying it to win over popular support in Germany.
yeah.
Was his argument.
There is no historian of World War II who thinks that Hitler was downplaying anti-Semitism in the 1930s. That was what he was doing. He wrote a book about it in the 1920s. He got to power on it, and he grew his power on the back of it. The idea that you can argue that in the 1930s, Adolf Hitler was downplaying the anti-Semitism, like, there's no historian who would agree with that. So why would you throw out the idea that in the 1930s, Hitler was not being anti-Semitic in public? That was what he was doing in public. He announces to the German parliament what he wants to do. So when you're throwing out claims like he was keeping it down in the 1930s, first of all, what are you doing? And secondly, why?
Okay. I mean, I think that it's kind of hard because I don't even know exactly what Daryl's point on that was. And so I'm not really in a position to argue what he was saying there.
Okay, so notice how Murray didn't cite a single example of a comparison where something would be downplaying versus not downplaying. So, is the audio good? Did you guys hear them talk and you can hear me talk now? Oh, here we go again. Okay. So, yeah, notice how this Murray goof, he didn't give an... Like, what does downplay mean? Does he have an example of old Adolf saying this particular group needs to be completely exterminated? Because if not, like, what does the word downplay mean? Because is Murray just completely illiterate? Is that the problem here? And why is he, and this is also cherry-picking logical fallacy, like, why is he picking this one point? Because, again, Joe Rogan actually held his feet to the fire. And he's like, well, what examples do you have? Because this goof is melting down, spamming fallacies. Like, why not actually give arguments? Like, he really wants to split hairs over what was or wasn't downplayed?